Now, let's look at some other types of Task 1 essay information, and let's talk about how we can divide the body paragraphs into two pieces. Let's look at this one first. This is a line graph. Okay, and if we see there, we've got three types of kind of sugary substance: fruit sugar, cane sugar, and honey. Okay, those are the three lines there. And then along the bottom, we have the number of minutes that go by. Okay, if you want to look a little more closely, you can pause the video and take a look. But the way we want to think about this is visually, how do you divide this information into two pieces? Okay, and I think this one, if you look closely, there's a pretty clear moment that we should divide it. And I believe that is right here at the 10-minute mark. Paragraph A will describe the first 10 minutes of the process. Okay, where those pH levels drop way down, right? And then each of them, kind of honey sort of stays the same, fruit sugar rises pretty dramatically, and cane sugar rises gradually, right, until the 10-minute mark. And then from 10 minutes to 40 minutes, all three of them follow a somewhat similar gradual upward trend. Okay, so that's going to be very suitable for paragraph B. All right, so by dividing it at the 10-minute mark, we have a nice balance between paragraph A and paragraph B. Okay, so when it comes to the outline, we'll have our introduction, which will just summarize or paraphrase the prompt. We'll have our summary, which just talks about generally what happens here overall. And then the most important thing is dividing these paragraphs into paragraph A, paragraph B. And just like that red line, we want to do this visually. Okay, the information is visual, so we want to divide that visually. This vertical line at the 10-minute mark, that is what sets us up for a successful essay. Let's look at a bar graph next. This is a fairly simple bar graph. You can see this is how much the UAE spends on health and education, okay, for these 3 years, 1985, 1990, and 1993. Okay, so of course the introduction is going to paraphrase the prompt. The summary is going to look overall what happens here. But the thing we should be most concerned with is dividing the information. So how would we do this visually? Where should we divide it? The first option is to simply divide between health and education. Paragraph A, about the blue parts of the chart, and paragraph B, about the red. That works. That's clear. However, I think an even better solution would be like this. While we have 3 years, what we actually have is 2 changes, from 1985 to 1990, and then from 1990 to 1993. So each of those changes would make an interesting paragraph. And that's what I would suggest as the best way to divide this essay. Each of these ways is possible and will result in a clear paragraph structure, but this way I think is a little more interesting. Next, let's look at a table of information. We have 6 cities, and this information is about the subway system, the underground railways system, the date that it opened, the kilometers of the route, and the passengers per year. Now, as we look at this, we're looking for groups. We need to divide these cities into 2 different groups for our body paragraphs. I think the easiest way to divide it is right in the middle here. London, Paris, and Tokyo. First of all, those are the oldest subway systems. They are also the longest subway systems, and they are also the most used subway systems. So for me, it makes perfect sense to put those together. Okay? And in part B, we've got these newer, shorter, and less popular or less used subway systems. Now, for this kind of table type, we're going to need to think additionally about the order. So in paragraph A, we have 3 cities. Which one do we explain first? Which one second? Which one third? Okay, so that's going to be our second consideration for the body paragraphs. And I would suggest doing it in this way, starting with the most popular and working your way down. So first Tokyo, then Paris, then London. And then in paragraph B, Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, and Kyoto. Now you could organize them simply by oldest to youngest, but that's going to be exactly the same as what the table shows. So I think the examiner will be more impressed. Well, I know the examiner will be more impressed if you choose your own way to organize them. As long as it is a logical way, it's totally fine. Next, let's look at a diagram. Okay, so here we have a diagram. There's a lot of information here, and it takes a couple of minutes to sort of understand everything that's going on here. The way that I have chosen to divide this is over here in the bottom right-hand corner, we have information about how a volcano is produced. There are 4 steps, right, for this volcano to be produced, right? Then in paragraph B, we have a kind of bigger idea of how the islands of Hawaii are produced, okay, as the tectonic plate, the Pacific tectonic plate shifts, right, to the left there, right, we see this chain of volcanoes being produced. And that's what we have in paragraph B. So this one is a little bit more tricky to divide, but in a way we're looking paragraph A, 1 volcano production, paragraph B, a chain of volcano production. Finally, let's look at a map. Okay, so this map shows 3 different city kind of organizations or downtown organizations in 1960, 1980, and 2000. So similar to the graph that we saw earlier, what we have here is actually 2 different changes from 1960 to 1980, and then from 1980 to 2000. And that's the way we should organize our body paragraphs. Okay, so just remember, when it comes to deciding on an outline for your task 1 academic essay, the thing to focus on is visually dividing the information so that your paragraph A and paragraph B of your body are very distinct and logically organized.